This presentation is being recorded. And at the end of the presentation, there will be a Q&A session where we will invite you to ask questions. At that time, if you have a question, you can use the raise your hand feature located at the bottom menu of your Zoom window. And when you're called on, you'll be unmuted to ask your question. If you don't want to ask your question out loud, you can just type your question in the chat. This presentation, along with the questions and responses from tonight, will be made available on our website at creativephl.org by the end of business on Wednesday, June 24th. And we're going to click the next slide. Okay, so we have a lot of things to get through today, but promise it won't be too long. On our agenda, we want to talk about the goals of this meeting, and we're going to give an overview of the Percent for Art program as well as the Vare Percent for Art project opportunity. We'll go over the application process for Percent for Art as well as the timeline for this project, and then we'll open it up for questions and talk about next steps. So the goals of this meeting, of tonight's meeting, are to walk you through the Percent for Art process, to provide an opportunity to ask questions about the application, to encourage local artists to apply to this opportunity and future opportunities, and to provide assistance for those that need it. Ultimately, we aim to make this process more transparent to encourage all artists to apply, even those that may be new to public art or to the public art process. Okay, so just to get an idea of who's attending tonight, let us know by answering the poll if you have ever participated in or applied to a City of Philadelphia Percent for Art project before. I'll give you a second to do that. Okay.
So we have a split audience. We have some folks that are familiar. Actually, there's some familiar names in the audience. So thank you all for being here. And then we have some people who have not applied before. So I hope you learned something tonight.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, the Percent for Art process is ever evolving. So even if you have participated before, this meeting will be helpful to understand some of the changes. So the mission of the Percent for Art program is to commission beautiful and enduring artworks which reflect the diversity of Philadelphia's residents and visitors, its rich cultural landscape, its many histories, and the variety of public spaces in Philadelphia's communities. So the city's Percent for Art program is triggered by city-funded capital projects such as a new construction or major renovation with a budget of $1 million or more. The program requires that 1% of the overall budget be designated for site-specific public art. The renovation of Vare Recreation Center creates an opportunity for site-specific public art with a Percent for Art budget of $150,000. And there are more than 1,100 pieces in the City of Philadelphia's public art collection, and over 300 of those public artworks have been generated through the Percent for Art program. The funding goes directly to artists to make the project happen. And community involvement is a critical component, and I'll be sharing more about that in the next slide. The Percent for Art program is also a two-stage community-driven selection process, and we'll be talking more about that as well. And with the support of our office, OACCE, the final product is a new edition of site-specific public art for a community to enjoy. So selected artists are responsible for the design, fabrication, and installation of that artwork with our support. So community input is vital, and the goal is for the artists to create site-specific art that is true and a meaningful reflection of the people, history, culture, and values of the local community. So in order to do that, we need community input to help establish the goals and priorities and aspirations for the art project, to inform the artists who are selected as semi-finalists about the community and to respond to questions that you as artists may have, and also to help the committee, the Percent for Art committee, determine the winning Percent for Art project. So there's a Percent for Art committee for every Percent for Art project. And it is comprised of, and it will provide strong representation from the community, also Vare Recreation Center and city agencies. And it includes arts and culture administrators and leaders, staff and users of the Vare Recreation Center, the project design team, members from Make the World Better, who's the project developer, the project user. Also residents and community leaders of Council District 2, representatives from the Councilperson Johnson's office, and representatives from Rebuild in our office, OACCE. So throughout the city, you may have seen many examples of Percent for Art projects from over the years. And this particular type of project is a sculptural project. So sculpture and the types of interactions with sculptural works can take many forms. And so on the next few slides, we're just going to share a couple of these past public artworks. So this one is Weaver's Knot Sheet Bin by Ball Noga Studio. And the words Weaver's Knot and Sheet Bin are traditional names for a knot used to bind different thicknesses of rope. The spheres range in size and are welded together to create the shape of the knot. The knot acknowledges the history of textile production and sailing on the Delaware River and reflects how Philadelphians and industry intertwine to weave the fabric of community, person to person, one knot at a time. This is MVP by artist Brian McCutcheon. And so this takes the traditional idea of a statue, but it features a young female athlete in a pose that shows she's about to make a decision in a game. This is the first individual sculpture in Philadelphia of a young Black female and represents only a handful of female figures in the city's collection of public art. It sits on a plinth low enough for children to come up and see this figure up close that looks more like them than most of the other statues in the city. This is Object of Expression by Warren Holtzman. This is a stainless steel sculpture in the form of a lectern, and it invites impromptu performances or oration to visitors of the park. The lectern reflects the musical history of the neighborhood and references the fact that Martin Luther King Jr. is said to have made a speech on the former Hawthorne Recreation site at 13th and Christian. This is the next block over in 1965. This next one is called Gargoyle Grouping by Peter Rockwell. And this is a gargoyle-like grouping statue expressing a sense of playfulness in the faces of the statue. So the sculpture turns the surrounding area into a splash fountain where water falls through the openings in the gargoyle's mouths. And this last one is called Three Boys at Play, and it's by Harold Kimmelman. This is a 3-figure sculpture depicting kids with hands clasped together and attached to a wall. So this playful sculpture is the size of children and keeps with the theme of encouraging play at the playground.
So here we're going to talk about the actual site. This is a bird's eye view plan of the Vare Recreation Center. And this public art opportunity is an outdoor sculpture located at the main entrances, and it's highlighted here in yellow what that main entrance is. So we're looking at the south entrance. Artists will be encouraged to propose sculptural works that reflect the themes and values that are important to the community in a meaningful and engaging way, using materials that are appropriate and durable for exterior use. So it's all about creating an inviting entry to this grand new recreation site. So as we take some different viewpoints of what the new entrance will be, this is a rendering for the south elevation. So what it would appear to be like at street level. You can see the new entrance, and we'll show you different viewpoints as well. Essentially, the new building will look like this. So this is a kind of looking above what that entrance would be, and it shows a large plaza area and kind of a gradual ramp where people can walk up to the entrance, and it's bright and colorful, very exciting. This is another angle. If you were actually on the sidewalk, walking up these stairs into the new entrance, you can kind of see where there are spaces to gather and how the glass entryway allows you to see outside, and you can also see in from the street. And this is just showing a different angle of the same entryway, showing a little bit of what this area would look like. And once again, that gathering area right next to the doors. So as far as the technical spaces for this opportunity, they're highlighted here in red. What we want to share about are 3 different options for where the artwork could be located. The spaces are essentially, they're in rough measurements, but they're about 13. This is about 13 by 5, similar to this size. And this trapezoidal shape over here is maybe about 13 by 10. And just to kind of reorient us, this would be the sidewalk. This would be that gradual ramp going up to the door. So this is that entrance here. This is that little nook where there's some seating. And these are very gradual steps that take you down to the sidewalk. And so that's kind of how this area is oriented. Now the opportunity is to select one of these 3 options. It is not to incorporate artwork into all 3 of them, but these are the spaces that are available. And for the Vare Recreation Site, it's important, and I want to read this, it's in the call for artists, but the guiding principle behind the new Vare Recreation Center is to build on support and to grow existing programs and people whose generosity has created a family culture at Vare since its doors open to all. The project, the general renovation project, will remember the perseverance of those who endure division for Vare to become the safe space it is now for youth to grow through athletics, education, life skills, regardless of race, gender, economic status, or class. The new Vare site will continue to be this safe haven and promote unity, access, and inclusion for all communities that use this recreation center. Through the promotion of peace, the new site will strive to be a utopia that is abundant with life and reflects the values of the community. I think that's a really strong, powerful mission statement and theme that is carried through the entire vision for the space, and especially what we hope to be introduced at the main entrance. I'm going to walk through what the actual application process looks like. So there are 2 parts to the Present for Art process. Part 1 is where we are today. Part 1 is what we call the Call for Artists round, and then Part 2 is the semi-finalist round. And Part 1 is an online application that focuses on collecting information about the artist and the artist experience. You can apply as a solo artist or as a team. The application will be collected through Submittable, which is a free online platform. You'll have to create an account, and then it'll allow you to save your draft if you want to walk away from your application and come back. Artists will need to provide contact, demographic info, an artist statement, and resume for each member of the team. And artist or artist teams can upload up to 10 examples of artwork, public art, or studio work with an image identification sheet. and respond to short form questions. So the artwork that you are uploading should be a clear example of your skill set. And if you are an artist team, it should reflect the various skill sets on your team and a skill set that would, or a medium that would make sense for the opportunity. The percent for art you all applicants can select 5 semifinalists to move on to part 2. So in part 2, a lot more happens.
You're breaking up a little bit.
Yeah. You guys still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Where did I cut off?
You were talking about part 2.
So now we're in part 2. Part 2, a lot more happens. It is when, if you are selected as a semifinalist, will attend a pre-proposal meeting with the Center for Art Committee. You will participate in a community engagement event. And that's where you'll have them and have a dialogue about what their themes they hope to see in the artwork, ideas, and you as artists get to ask questions directly. As a semifinalist, you'll receive $1,000 stipend to prepare proposal materials. Then we'll a specific proposal that includes visual renderings or sketches of your concept, as maintenance needs, your project schedule, and budget. Proposals will be made available for the community to give input, to make comments, and to rank how they feel about the concepts. And then artists will present their proposals to the Percent for Art Committee. The Percent for Art Committee, at the end of reviewing all the proposals from the semifinalists, will make a recommendation for a finalist, and that finalist will then further develop their design for Art Commission to review and potentially, hopefully, give final approval. And then the artist can get into contracting and actually create their work. So let's look at the schedule for what a typical Percent for Art project would be. Planning phase is kind of what we've done right before this stage. We're at the community engagement artist selection stage. So we created the draft for the call for artists. We planned where the location would be for the site-specific project. And now we're here where the call is open, and we're inviting applicants to apply, and then we'll go through the selection process, all of those steps that I just described from part 1 and part 2. So that's about 6 months. Then after that semi-finalist stage and the finalist gets selected, that one finalist, we'll go into that design development phase, which just means that your concept may require a little bit more development, a little bit more work to actually make sense to conform to the physical space. And that could take a few months as well. So we're constantly developing this concept. And then we get to the Art Commission review phase, which most likely they will need one review and then a second review to get final approval. And then after that, that finalist, once they receive final approval by the Art Commission, we can go into the artist contracting phase, which does take a while through the city's process. But so that's what this 5-month segment here is. And then at the end of actually getting into contract, the artist can move into fabrication and installation. So all in all, it's about 18 months. This is what we call a typical and also optimistic schedule. Things happen, but this is what we aim for. So as far as what the application form looks like, remember we're in part 1. This is the stage where we are just wanting to know you as the artist, what your experience is in creating work, and who are the members on your team if you have an artist team. So once you log on to Submittable, this is the screen that it will take you to. And you'll see, so like I said, you'll need to create a free account in order to access the application. And you can save a draft. If you're not done with it, you can walk away from it and come back. By using Submittable, this platform allows us to have a uniform experience for all applicants, and it allows the committee a better system to be able to review all of the information that you as artists are submitting. And regardless if you have participated in previous Percent for Art projects before or opportunities before, this may be entirely new to you. So once you click on this page, you'll see this landing page. Or once you get into Submittable, rather, you'll click on the landing page. You'll scroll down, and our office has other opportunities open all at the same time. So what you want to look for is the Percent for Art Call for Artists Vare Recreation Center Part 1. This is, you'll click the Submit button, and when you do, it will take you to the actual application page. So we've kind of given a little bit of a snippet of what the guidelines are. What the call for artist is, but we highly encourage you to read and download the call for artists, where all of this information is, the picture, the renderings of the site, the deadlines, the schedule, everything is in here. You'll be able to read, download, and save that file for yourself. So you'll land here, you'll make sure, this is a good landmark. If you see this image, you're in the right place. You'll keep scrolling down, and I'm going to highlight this area. Once again, we've listed the call for artists so that you make sure that you read it and learn all about the project itself. And then also we're providing a sample Percent for Art semifinalist terms of agreement. This just allows you to understand upfront what would be expected from a semifinalist if you are selected to move on to the next stage. And then also we've provided a sample public art contract. So this would be, it's a template of what the artist's contract would be if you were to enter into one with the city. So as you keep scrolling down, this is all that same page. This is actually the application. So then this is where you start, you plug in your information and just work through the form. Okay. So that's pretty much it for the online application. I want to highlight some of the milestones. Once again, this entire schedule is going to be in that PDF that I talked about, where you can download and save. All this information is in there. All of these important dates are in there. So the highlighted event, of course, is where we are tonight. The next major milestone is any questions about the project. If you have any, please submit them by the 17th to me, and then we'll make sure that we collect all of the responses for these questions to make them available online on the Submittable page or on our website by the 24th. And of course, the deadline for this opportunity is July 8th at 5 p.m. 5 p.m. So I know it was a lot of information up front, but if you have any questions about this opportunity, we invite you to either put it right in the chat or raise your hand and we'll unmute you, and feel free to ask your question. So let us know. I guess I should look at my attendees list. No questions. And if you don't think of any tonight and you think of some later, feel free to email us. Like I said, you have up until next Friday, and we'll make sure to respond to all the questions and post them online. So I know some general questions that we get are, who is eligible for this opportunity, which is in the call for artists. We've provided that it's open to anyone, but specifically for this opportunity, we are prioritizing artists that are able to share a connection with the site or with the community, to have some kind of relationship with the community or the site itself. And we highly encourage minority and female artists to apply. And if you're an artist that is emerging and let's say, oh, I've never done public art before, is this an opportunity for me? Absolutely. We want to encourage you as an emerging artist, if this is something that you feel maybe it's the next phase of your career or a challenge that will grow in your you'll be able to grow in your ability. We want this opportunity to be open to, we hope this opportunity seems open to you too. That's why we're having tonight, so that you understand what the process is and hope to demystify what it is to be in the Percent for Art program. Oh,
Yep.
so we do have a
We
question.
do have one question from Lou, as asking if the project is strictly sculpture based, and the answer is yes. However, we did show multiple, just as an example, we showed there's multiple ways to interpret sculpture. It does not have to be a figurative. It could be abstract. It can be, representative of a number of different things. The semifinalists will be provided with input from the community to understand their aspirations and what things can represent unity and healing and some of the things that the community has expressed as part of this project. But it can take the form of a lot of different things, but we are looking for a three-dimensional element.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as a consideration, when we say site specific, for this particular site, that is what made most sense in the location. So for other places, it may be something that is applied to a window or it's seating. So we invite you to consider, what can sculpture look like beyond, like what Marguerite was saying, beyond the figure. So I think it presents also a creative challenge for artists, and we're excited to see what comes out of it. Any other questions? Okay, we'll just keep moving forward. Like we said, questions can be received up until next week. We'll respond to them, make them available. So hopefully from what you learned today, we hope you'd be interested in applying to this opportunity. So we'll just get another feel for the room. Another quick poll here. Would you apply to this opportunity? I think because we have some of our committee members, they're probably like, no, not for me. And that's okay. But we definitely have interested two of you, and I'm very happy. So we hope to see your applications come through. And
because it's not a mandatory meeting, it's fine, because this, as Stephanie mentioned, this whole recording and this presentation will be posted online. So we expect to get questions written. So this is great.
So just as a reminder, the deadline is July 8th. Everything can be found on our website, creativephl.org, Percent for Art. Let us know if you have any other questions. Otherwise, this is a very short and sweet meeting, and we thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoy your weekends, stay safe, drink water, eat some fruit.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, you're free to go. Have a good night.
All right. Have a good night.